Now I have a reading for you from our daily reading. Today, I thought we'd crack open this lovely book. Where is it? The Teachings of Ramana Maharishi. I think I'll have to sit a little bit to the left so I'm not being covered by it. Here, I have it here. Here, we'll read the back first, and then we'll crack open the introduction. And it's a very direct book, so the introduction's pretty short. Here is the summary on the back. The renowned Indian sage Ramana Maharishi is beloved by Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, and Taoists alike for the inspirational power of his teachings, which transcend all religious differences. Here is a collection of Sri Ramana's instructions and discourses, culled from 3 works: Who Am I?, Spiritual Instructions, and Maharishi's Gospel. These teachings are arranged by topics such as work and renunciation, silence and solitude, peace and happiness, and the discipline of self-inquiry. Reading this book, presented in question and answer format, evokes the feeling of being with this outstanding teacher at one of his intimate teaching sessions. And that's right. There's a foreword by Carl Jung. Ramana Maharishi, from 1879 to 1950, was one of the greatest spiritual teachers of modern-day India. At the age of 17, he attained a profound experience of the true self. After years of silent seclusion, he finally began to reply to the questions put to him by spiritual seekers all over the world. Could you imagine that? Asking this guy spiritual questions, and he was just so blissed out, didn't feel the need to reply. Though he wrote little, his many conversations and verbal teachings were recorded by followers and have been published in India and the United States. Hello, the bearded mystic. You share that Ramana Maharishi is a great guru, quite literally. Maha, meaning great, Rishi, also very similar to guru, great teacher, and Ramana, what does that mean? I think it's like splendid. So a splendid great teacher, that's his name. All right, without further ado, let's crack open the preface. A gently indrawn breath, with no thought, can bring the ecstasy of total awareness beyond words. In these 3 books of answers to inquirers, Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, without offending common sense, reason, or logic, has come as close as possible to saying the unsayable, and points the way, innumerable ways, for you to find the self and be. To understand the ultimate, experience must be intimate. Beyond that which you think is that which you are. Realizing this does not involve specific practices or attitudes other than understanding. No withdrawal is necessary. No change of present time, place, or condition. Only a change of viewpoint, which with you bring about yourself, for yourself. A recent letter from S.S. Cohen says, "Be" sums up the material life to compensate for it. Sorry, I skipped a sentence. B sums up the whole practical teaching of Bhagavan. There is nothing in the material life to compensate for it. Neither wealth, sex, art, science, nor any other ordeal. It is the greatest good, the bliss, and the truth absolute. Bhagavan found enlightenment for himself without a physical guru. In these books of questions, asked and answered, may you find your answer. This can be a trip to end all trips. Find out who you are, and you can't help but be. Know that you, immortal, are, and you have but to be. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. Peace, peace, peace. From Joe and Guinevere Miller. Now here's the foreword by Carl Jung. I don't think we'll read all of it in one sitting, but perhaps at the end of this live we can finish it. And then tomorrow we'll probably begin the questions and answers. So we'll just read a page or two from the foreword. Sri Ramana and his message to modern man. Sri Ramana is a true son of the Indian earth. He is genuine, and in addition to that, something quite phenomenal. In India, he is the whitest spot in a white space. What we find in the life and teachings of Sri Ramana is the purest of India, with its breath of the world liberated and liberating humanity. It is a chant of millennia. This melody is built upon a single great motif, which, in 1,000 colorful reflexes, rejuvenates itself within the Indian spirit, and the latest incarnation of which is Sri Ramana Maharishi himself. The identification of the self with God will strike the European as shocking. It is specifically Oriental realization as expressed by Sri Ramana's utterances. Psychology cannot contribute anything further to it, except the remark that it lies far beyond its scope to propose such a thing. However, it is clear to the Indian that the self, as spiritual source, is not different from God, and insofar as man abides in his self, he is not only contained in God, but is God himself. Sri Ramana is quite clear in this respect. The goal of Eastern practices is the same as that of Western mysticism. The focus is shifted from the I to the self, from man to God. This means that the I disappears in the self and the man in God. A similar effort is described in the Exercitia Spiritualia, in which the personal property, the I, subjugate to the highest possible degree to the possessorship of Christ. Sri Ramakrishna adopted the same position in regard to the self. Only with him, the dilemma between the I and the self comes a little more closely to the foreground. Sri Ramana declares unmistakably that the real purpose of spiritual practice is the dissolution of the I. Ramakrishna, however, shows a somewhat hesitating attitude in this respect, though he says, as long as the I sense lasts, so long are true knowledge, jnana, and liberation, mukti, impossible. Yet, he must acknowledge the fatal nature of ahamkara. He says, how very few can obtain this union, this samadhi, and free themselves from this I. It is very rarely possible. Talk as much as you want. Isolate yourself continuously. Still, this I will always return to you. Cut down the poplar tree today, and you will find tomorrow it forms new shoots. When you ultimately find that this I cannot be destroyed, let it remain as I, the servant. In relation to this concession, Sri Ramana is certainly the more radical. One more paragraph. The changing relations between these two quantities, the I and the Self, represent a field of experience which the introspective consciousness of the East has explored to a degree almost unattainable by the Western human being. The philosophy of the East, which is so very different from ours, represents to us a highly valuable present, which, however, we must obtain in order to possess. Sri Ramana's words once again sum up the principal things which the spirit of India has accumulated during thousands of years in contemplation of the inner self, and the individual life and work of the Maharishi exemplifies once more the innermost striving of the Indian people to find the liberating original source. All right, I shall create a little dog ear and pause our reading of the Foreword by Carl Jung here. He has just a few more paragraphs to say, and then there is a biographical sketch, which we'll read later, and then finally, some very direct questioning and answering happens. But I thank you, my dear viewers, for tuning in to this beginning. I appreciate your listening. And thank you to those who sent a gift whilst I read. Allow me to extend my gratitude back to you now.